This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
Courage for me has always been telling the truth. I think it's where the best ideas come from. The thing that's under the surface, the truth that nobody is brave enough to say, it's the good stuff. I think searching for the truth is the recipe for being courageous.
Very rarely do we get to have return guests. And I always love that because one, obviously our first convo was spot on. Two, a lot's happened since we last left off. Like if I really think about why I was so curious to have you on, I remember being in a very specific place where I met the original founders of Uber. And then I think about the from a culture standpoint with the current CEO. And then I believe you were shortly hired after that, yes?
About a year into Dara's reign.
Ish, right? And
right during COVID. So, it was one crisis after the other.
Talk about a resilient muscle. This is a courageous show. It's not about resilience, but it's still that's a serious muscle skill too.
Yeah.
But now a lot's happened. A lot's changed since we last left off. And do I need to now call you Emmy Award winning Danielle Hawley? Is that appropriate?
Sure. That sounds great.
Why don't we start?
Everybody should.
Did you change? Do you have that URL? Have you bought that URL?
And I'm just gonna change my title on LinkedIn to just be, I'm a quarter of the way to my EGOT.
Oh my gosh! So can you? It's very breaking news. Can you share a little bit about last night?
Yeah, and I wasn't there. The team was there. Brian Cox Goes to College has gotten a lot of love and support through the award show season. I think that the Emmys are just so fun because everybody knows what they are, you go home and you tell your parents that you want a Cannes Lion and they're like, great. And they don't have any idea what that is. This one everybody relates to. So really excited for the team and just, we were up against Apple and Apple and Nike rather. And, that's a pretty tough crowd. So really just couldn't be prouder of the team and the partnership with Special Group and what we've created through these years and just talk about bravery, talk about courage.
Well, I also think one of the reasons that the algorithm put you back on my radar and let's not say you're not on my radar, but you're crazy busy. I'm crazy busy. As you had posted something about bravery and courage, maybe it was 3 months ago. I'm like, oh shoot, I need to get Danielle back on here and just sort of see how life is and catch up. And you talk about it's a classic. Look, optimism is my number one value. So this is a classic thing for a leader to say. And I know you're proud of the team, but have you taken a moment to be proud of yourself on the team that you've built? Can you just do that for 1 minute and enjoy the moment?
Yeah, it was actually very funny because when the team FaceTimed me from the red carpet holding the trophy, I immediately came out and told my family, and my daughter was just blown away because she gets that. 11-year-old gets what an Emmy is. So I think that was the moment where that's what means the most to me, Ryan, is just that she sees that and that she sees the team excited and that, that there's nothing. Team is my number one value. And the fact that my daughter is getting to witness that is a privilege.
And I really appreciate your point of view on it. And there have been many American Advertising Federation nights, one club nights where, I very much remember being at the table and my team there's one time, I'm not going to call anybody out, but there was one time where we won something and I knew there was zero reason that I should be on that stage. Let the team go. And one of my other partners raced up on stage and grabbed the trophy. And it's had nothing to do with, and you remember these moments. You're these are little stains in your brain. It's No, like if someone's going to work, and by the way, if you work in this business, whatever the idea business, you don't like just go home and stop. It goes with you. And so they deserve to be on the stage. Like you've earned that moment. They're few and far between, frankly.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Everything is cumulative, I think, in this business. And when you look at it that way, it's really easy to go down with the ship when the ship goes down and to rise with, all the tides when things are going perfectly, which they never do, of course, but close to perfectly. It's everything from who you hire, it's, who you bring onto your own team, but who you partner with, how many trenches you've been in, how much work you've done together, what you've learned along the way, being able to apply those learnings. So it's easy to feel a part of the win. It's easy for my whole team to feel apart from the win because in truth, everybody did play a role, and maybe not in the traditional way, but certainly in a spiritual one.
How do you go about making sure, and again, I'm using your word here out of the gate. So, brave idea, whether it was a courageous idea or a brave idea, but like, how do you ensure that the team is staying locked in on a brave idea? Like, how do you know when you have one versus not so brave?
Actually, a really interesting question. Uber's tone of voice is what we call bold and direct and with heart. And the boldness really stands for like, is this the thing that nobody else would say? When we did Uber Don't Eats several years ago, it was like, that was the elephant in the room. We were trying to sell light bulbs from a brand that was called Uber Eats. And instead of running away from that, we leaned into it and we sort of said, yep, we kind of fucked up. Like the name doesn't work anymore. And so we're just going to call it Uber Don't Eats. And the direct really comes from the balance of humor and entertainment and all the things that make your heart get into it and you just, engages everybody. But if you don't have high comprehension, if people don't get the joke, you haven't won. So the directness has to be, say, the simplest thing in the fewest words possible that gets the point across so that people can play along with you. And then the heart is the humanity. It can be because you made someone laugh. It could be because you made someone cry. It could be because you related to somebody or you said, I get you. And that has become a filter by which we grade all of the work. When we look at something, and even if you're brand new to giving feedback, you might look at something and be like, I don't know what's missing. And then you're like, okay, is it the thing that nobody would say? Is it said in the simplest words? Does it have humanity? And if you're going, oh, you know what? It's not bold enough. Like, or wow, it's so bold, but it's not clear enough. It's not direct enough. You can really kind of hone in on the fact that when you have the combination of those three things, you can pretty much assure you're being pretty brave. And so, that's a very simple framework that we give everyone around the world. And I'm very lucky that I have not met a marketing manager across Uber that doesn't want to do great work. It is rare. I know that. And it is about the culture that we've established, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great criteria. Is it a just don't forget, or is it actually like check the box? Like how much is it process?
I mean, it's the brand. When you're looking, the tough part of Uber is that the business always grows faster than the brand. That is the magic of Uber. It's a pivot culture. We're going to stand up an operation overnight in a new country, or we're going to launch a new thing that no one's ever heard of tomorrow. If you think about it, it's like there was Uber Rides and then there was Uber Eats. I think I may have even told you this the last time we talked, but there was a time when people would be like, don't close the laptop on the desk in the corner because you'll shut Uber Eats down. A startup culture. It was shoelaces and duct tape. And the fact that it's grown to the business that it's grown to be is phenomenal. But those two brands grew in opposite ends of the spectrum. And in truth, that's our differentiator. We're the only company out there that has rideshare and delivery service. And we do it globally. So the brand is really starting to we've kind of found our voice. We've taken shape of what we stand for. And so the bold and direct with heart is, I wouldn't say it's like on the brief that everybody has to think about it, but it's kind of embedded in everybody's soul, especially when you're new to trying to give feedback to agencies to make sure they're being as brave as you want to be.
This is like the I can't help myself moment of the show, so forgive me. But like as a writer, where I kind of went was there's like these 4 components. There's smart, there's dart. Like it's got to be a dart. Like it's not if there's not a little bit of a zip to it, probably not bold enough. There's art because there's not for everybody, but art seems to play here. And then there's heart. So it's like smart, dart, heart, and art, right? And it's like how do all 4 of those come to life in your work? Again, who knows? Maybe you're like Ryan. Let's just stay with the line I have, Ryan. Stay in your lane. But that's but I love that, and you're also, every once in a while I get to bring on like true leaders of creative business. And I always appreciate hearing their filter for decision making. And it's really not just a filter, it's just a clarity tool. Like, I mean, we are in the clarity business, right? And clear is first. So very cool. So look, in the spirit of like where the show can go today, I feel like we're going to bounce around a little bit.
Okay.
We always talk about fear and courage are kin. You don't get to courage without fear. So I've got some fear-based questions that we're all feeling. And then I think we obviously we'll talk about courage, sort of the remedy of that as well. And I think I read something recently. It was a CVS study where like 90% of workforces know the conversation they want to have, but are biting their lip. I mean, that's not small. Like, really? Like, and why aren't we creating the conditions for the conversation to happen, right? So let's start with our favorite topic, not courage, but AI. And right, like how is AI showing up in your world? And I'm curious, are people internally like, what percent in your mind, this is the real, are like embracing it versus, oh shit, like this is going to take my job? Like, I'm curious from your standpoint, what's the numbers?
On my team, all 52 of us, we're all in, truly. And I think that comes from the culture that we've established, but it also comes from the kind of people that we hire. I think that there's 2 things that keep me and my team grounded. The first is that some of us are old enough to remember, what Photoshop did when art directors who couldn't draw could all of a sudden express themselves in a whole new way. And I'm a writer, but it wasn't until maybe 10 years ago that I really became a writer's writer. I always got to words from visual thinking and visual storytelling in my brain. And the idea that I can now do that because I'm not an art director. I don't design. I'm not in the tools every day, but the fact that I can express my idea in a more clear way, I think is fascinating. Yes, it's scary. Everything new is always scary. Always. But just like everything else, we're going to find new jobs from it. The old ones might go away, but there'll be lots of new jobs that come out of it. And there'll be lots of ways that it encourages humanity and craft. I don't think in ways that we even understand yet. But, it's like, remember when the iPhone, like we were like, what the hell is this thing? That changed everything for people. All of a sudden we were developing apps and it was like, does anybody ever going to go to a website anymore? And, all those, it's just, maybe I've just been around too long, but that's the kind of steady energy that I bring to the team.
Second one, this is going off your comment on, hey, what makes us different is that we're actually really good at 2 things, not one thing. And I do think that you used to be able to get away being really good at just one thing. And now like the Michael Jordan got, again, I'm dating myself with Jordan, but we knew him as a shooter and then all of a sudden he's playing defense. He's winning defensive player of the year.
Yep.
Taylor Swift is singing and playing an instrument, or Arcade Fire, they play every instrument. So you do kind of have to be really good at 2 things, but our business is about being clear and simple and like being succinct with one little overarching idea. How does that show up when you now know, like, actually what makes us different is the power of two. Is that the idea?
I think that it's not two. I think it's many. And, I'll often call them levers. So, I'll see an edit and I'll be like, all right, this is the note. And then with the agency or with my team, I'll say, here are some levers, which is it's a kind way of saying, here's some thought starters. Because, you never want to be critical of something and then walk away and be like, good luck, you guys. And the team and the agencies know that I'm never being prescriptive. All I'm doing is trying to be helpful. So you pull on the levers, and every time you pull on the lever, you're trying to get some kind of balance. And that's why it was so important that we established the sort of focus of who we were, how we sounded, what we stood for. Because, I think that there's a big myth that entertainment and stuff that makes you laugh, for example, is easy. Or that it's like, it just happened. And it's just about like getting in a room and telling a bunch of jokes. I could not emphasize more how methodical and intricate and intentional so many of those choices are to build something like that. So I see it as just constantly, pulling on every lever to get to the place where everybody can enjoy something.
I'm very curious of how you've landed here on like, because I think if you're in the business, I don't see it that way. So is this more about for the general public? Is it more for like other parts of business that are not like poor finance, but like, is this all?
You mean you don't see AI that way? Or
AI. I thought you said entertainment. I thought.
Oh no, I did say entertainment. So sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
I feel like you think it's a myth for people. People believe that the entertainment just happens,
yeah,
right? And it's like, no, I know how much work goes into making sure. And just to put a little bow, I loved what you said about there's ways to do this. It's hard to make sure you don't leave anyone behind. That everyone's in on the joke. That everyone's in on the fun. Maybe that's even a better way to say it.
Yep.
But that's hard work. It's hard to do. So I'm curious, who do you feel is not getting that it's hard work? Is it just other than like anonymous people on Twitter?
Well, I mean, I do think that there's been a bit of a revival of what you might call old school ideas. And they're not necessarily old school channels or old school mediums. They're just sort of old school ideas. I'm really pleased to see that, we're not the only ones. I would never be that arrogant to say so, but that, centered around the core product. It's like, we have to sell something. We're not just making pure entertainment. It's buying media space inside someone's mind. So, I think the myth comes from people just like remembering the glory days of advertising, back in the Hal Riney days and back in the Got Milk days and the days that like consumers understood and loved ads. I think we're feeling that resurgence again. And we wouldn't be doing our jobs if consumers didn't think it looked easy. They're not supposed to feel how hard it was.
Well
so
stated.
I think it's just culture sort of leaning into, oh, that's so funny, and not really having a understanding or a comprehension of how hard it is.
Yes, and it's almost how I feel about like the minute you spot process in something, it's probably shitty process or strategy. Like, and the best layman example I can think of is like you're on a plane and suddenly you hear the clinking of the cart as someone's elbow gets hit. It's like, okay, we got to rethink this process here, right? It's
right.
Like it should be invisible and it isn't, right?
Well, and your strategy can't show, That's another thing that I think writers particularly have to grow up understanding is that there's a difference between your brief and your line.
Yeah. That's a whole nother show, but good to know if I'm trying to win an Emmy, folks, right?
You're not going to let it go, are you?
No, but it's great. It's worth celebrating. We don't do enough celebrating.
I agree.
I mean, you know how many ideas there are we run into every day and how many of them are truly courageous, let alone also courageous and celebrated. So huge love to the team and huge love to Nike and to Apple.
Always.
right? Y'all are making it easy for everyone to keep raising the bar and going for it. One of the things that I've been fiddling around with, and I'm going to acknowledge that this is like, I should probably not share my brief since we just talked about don't share the brief, but this is testing. I find that we've said a lot as a company. So it's not just me, it's the team as well. Like, hey, partner, where do you need courage the most right now? As you're marinating on this a little bit, I recognize that sometimes we're being brought in right now, and it's like the company or the leadership team, it's just inspire courage. It's like, it's like we're putting the grooming down. It's a keynote, it's a talk. We're just getting the mind right. It's like you haven't joined the gym yet, but you've gone for a trial day, right? Other times,
never quit.
Once the goal is to get you to join, and I think that's we're injecting courage. So inspire courage is one. A courage injection is two. It might be a workshop. Then we move into like installing courage, which is you're like working with the trainer, and hopefully there's instilling courage with. I think the only way to install courage in a company is to instill it in the people, which you've done sounds like a really good job with your team of like, here's what's important to us. So if I go back to the question, where do you need courage the most? And I know this might be slightly presumptuous to say, as a business, if you had to speak for the business and actually share this on the show, where do you think the company needs courage the most right now?
I think it's a brave new autonomous world. And I think that I do think it was a brave decision to get out of the hardware business. And I think it's a brave decision to partner in an autonomous world and use the thing that is perhaps less known, but wildly innovative, which is the app itself. And talk about people think it's easy, tap a button, get a ride, tap a button, get a hamburger. But the intentionality behind what is happening in that price matching, in that mapping functionality, in, changing the driver's route because there's construction, or, taking restaurants off the platform when it's too much rain and you're afraid somebody is going to get a bad experience because they're not going to get their food warm in time, or whatever those things are just, they're incredibly intentional, and they're so technical and intricate, and not everybody in this business is great at that. And I think I've seen us be really brave about owning that place in this autonomous world. And I think we just need to do more of it. It's not that we're not being brave about it. We just need to really lean in, because it might look like there's only a few autonomous vehicles in the world right now, but the truth is there are going to be quite a few, many, many, many. And, it's really important that things like, well, where do the fleets go at night? How do the cars get cleaned? All of those things are operational functionality that we are the best in the business at. So being that aggregator of being able to get, a ride from a human, or a ride from an autonomous vehicle, or, a burger from a robot, or a person on a bike is the future. And we have to be brave and innovative and step up and take our place there.
When you say that, how much of that is educating us versus educating inside?
Both. It's both. I say this all the time, but the business always grows faster than the brand. And we're always running to catch the train and to stitch it back together. And, it is an AI world. It is an AV world. And the truth is that, Uber's been using AI since day dot one, day dot zero. And so in an autonomous world that is going to be fueled by AI, we have a major right to play because we've been using it for so long. And we use it for good so that people have great experiences, both driver and rider, or courier and eater. I think it's not that it's like everybody understands that and knows that, but telling the story is always a difficult thing to get right and to evangelize around the company.
I imagine that's a big part of the team's job too, right? It's like anywhere where a human might feel fear, like getting into an autonomous vehicle, or did a robot just bring my burger to me? Hey, that took someone's job away. Like I'm filling in the blanks. Whether they're true or not true, or they are, or maybe they're all true, right? Yep. So I'm assuming that's coming with the job, is to tell those stories. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And I have brilliant people on the team that are awesome connectors and creative. That's what creative people are, right? That can listen to the policy side of the business or the comm side of the business and work with them to really understand, the comm side. I mean, our investor relations team and our comms team are they're just amazing. But turning that into some kind of consumer facing role, or how we ultimately approach that with the drivers that we do have on the platform, is all it's all an art.
Well, it's also cool to hear. I mean, your team is crisis comms. It's pre-crisis comms as much as it's crisis comms, and it's also right. It's like, hey, people don't know about this yet. Like, let's put this down so people can start to investigate and be curious. Where do we want to send them? I always used to say, if you don't have influence and you need influence, like that's a problem. So you're doing that work as well. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the organization is excellent at defense. Excellent, because, to your point, crisis management has been a thing in the organization, both from the delete Uber days and to COVID and to all the things that we've had to navigate through. I always say, like, if something is going to happen to me, I want those guys to come rescue me. Because they're just amazing. But it's the offensive. It's like, is the brand ready to take the lead? Are we ready to step back into that disruptor mindset that was true of the original Uber? Isn't as easy as it might feel. Everybody, approaches that with caution, rightfully so. And, the humbleness that we know is inside the organization, the fear of the fact that that's not going to be seen outside of the organization is still very palpable.
I don't know if I've ever shared this on the show, and I try to do my best to stay in my lane as a host, right? Because I want to hear about you and your stories. But one of the light bulb moments I had when writing Return on Courage was that at first we confuse jumping out of a plane without a parachute as courageousness. So another way to say that is being reckless, right? Like, no, like without knowledge, it's not courage, right? The aha that I had, and maybe it took COVID and a pandemic for me to get here, was, wow, actually, like none of us get a vote on change. Like nobody asked you, or like, there was no vote, no hanging chads, right? It was just like change happened. And what I learned was, there's another one of these, that when change is driving us, that is an act of resilience. It's still a really good muscle to have, right? But you're the catcher or you're the firefighter, and really good to be good at that. But when you're driving change and you're hitting the gas, to your point, playing offense, that is the courage muscle. That is an act of courage. Again, both really good muscles. You should be resilient, but I like hearing. It would be really interesting. I know you're not going to be able to share this, but like if you looked at your budget, what percent is being sent toward downs that we have to play defense, and these stories are defense. We might still come at it proactively and let's get ahead of it. Yep. Versus where are we hitting the gas? Where are we being courageous?
I mean, I think that's probably more of a question for the comms team than it is for me. But I can tell you that when that comms team, whether they're playing offense or defense, if they need our support, we're there to help them. And I think creative people are inherently brave. So we lend some of that to you cannot force change. I think that's like a lesson that I have to learn all the time, is that the only time I've ever changed anything, a heart and a mind in a consumer, a client who didn't trust me, or a peer who, maybe I don't see eye to eye with, or a team member that doesn't understand my leadership style, whatever, right? I think it's all about this idea of inspiring change, because you can't force it. You can't say like, here are my expectations and, I'm going to hold you accountable. I mean, you can, but that doesn't bring out the best in people. Inspiring it is telling people where the roadmap is and allowing people to get on the road with you. Otherwise, and frankly, and understand why others aren't on the road. And I've learned that from merging a gazillion times on the agency side, is like the second that you set the vision, there's the people that are going with you and the people that aren't. But at least everybody understands why the people are on the road and why people got off the bus. And that's a really important thing for humanity and for, I think, hearts during change.
It's funny. I was going to ask you. I mean, here we go. But what's changed since you last were on the show? Like personally,
Yeah.
what's changed? Because I feel like when you first got there, it was like a lot to figure out, and right. And now, as the world has changed, you also are ever changing. So it may be an unfair question because you don't have like a journal of when we were last together. But I'm curious to hear what's changed in your world.
Well, I took on the brand, not just the creative department. That's a tough thing because I think creative people think brand building, they think Brian Cox goes to college. I think brand building as building Uber's trust and reputation, as do our leaders. And it is the biggest barrier to going from being a world-class brand to being a loved brand. And we need to be a loved brand, especially in an AI world. This is another thing that I think is so overlooked, is that brand building isn't just commercials. Brand building is taking the logo off of any of those commercials and knowing who it's for. It's feeling consistency every time you open the app experience, no matter where you are in the world. It's that safety that you get from a brand that's like, buried inside you, and also just makes you feel safe and comfortable and inspired and all the things that attract you to it. In an AI world, consideration is going to go away. We're going to be able to set all kinds of preferences and say, order me a car. And, that AI platform, whatever it's going to be, robot, chatbot, whatever you want to call it, is going to find you the nearest car or the least expensive ride or whatever else. It's not going to care whether it's a Waymo or an Uber or whatever. And now is and I mean, I'm just applying it to our business, but I think it's all business. If you don't create that desire for people to want to be with your brand, you're suspect to just being eliminated from the consideration set.
What a fun job, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I have to remind myself all the time, but I won't ever forget about Uber, is that you have to build bottom up. It moves way too fast to ever think that you're going to have everything perfectly aligned and above everything in this great overarching thing that then trickles down to everything perfectly. It just doesn't happen that way. So building a brand from the bottom up was new for a lot of the folks on my team, and being scrappy and moving with what needed to get done when it needed to get done was not an easy thing to do.
You remind me of my mentor who was running, you mentioned Hal Riney, like back in the Riney days.
We're old.
Was it? It's happened. It's happened. But that's okay. I'm at peace with it. And he used to say, "You're not in advertising, you're in creative business." And I've always tried to hold true to that. And I wish more business people truly understood what creativity could do for the bottom line. And I wish more creatives realized that doesn't mean starving artist, right? And your job is to be full brain. And it sounds like you're in like the perfect job for you right now. I was really grateful that you came back on the show, and I'm really curious. Obviously our logics align enough that the word courageousness still lands with you. Why does it hold for you? And what is it about life right now that feels like, yeah, this is the right word for me?
It's funny you asked me what's changed since the last time we talked. And I think that's changed. When you're in the agency side of the business, you got to walk in the room, you got to play the part, you've got to be almost like a persona for clients to trust you. And I got really good at saying like, well, this client wants me to wear this hat and this client wants me to wear this hat. And coming into Uber, it was so important for me to prove that like, I don't just sit on that marketing leadership team so that somebody can be like, hey, Danielle, can you go make this now? I have a voice in the executive leadership group and am very strategic, not just about where the brand needs to go, but where the business needs to go. And I've got a lot of just life experience. So building processes or thinking through things. have a lot to offer. And I think I swung way too far into being like, okay, I got to be this executive and I got to, do the thing and walk in the room with my briefcase and my, that hat on, and have reminded myself in the last, year or so, like, just back to what we were saying, that you can't force the change. You have to inspire it. And I can be inspiring. And the work that my team can do can be inspiring. And so I now walk in those rooms thinking, like, what does my team need to, what does this leadership team need from me specifically? What is the thing that I can bring to this leadership team that is maybe not as easy for the rest of them? And so I've put my briefcase down and put back on my creative heart in a lot of those rooms and a lot of those meetings.
So you wouldn't know this because we haven't spoken, but the last couple of years, I've been partnered with a couple other folks on a new book called Head of Mentals. And it's all about self-talk. And it's like the only way, going into it, the thesis, I think, was the only way to get ahead is to understand your head. And now I'm not totally sold. I think it's more the only way to move ahead is to understand your head. And there's a nuance there. It's all about cracking your self-talk.
Yep.
And what I love about what you just shared was it's in service of the team and the mission. You almost have to get out of your own way. And you're coming into the room going, how can we help inspire where we're going as a unit? So personally, I'm curious, and this is not boardroom Danielle, although you can totally go and give a boardroom Danielle example if you so choose. But I just mean you personally. Is there something when we get to know like the real you, the heart version of you, where you need more courage right now?
Oh, I think I have to go back to the Wayback Time Machine, if that's okay with you.
Of course. Let's go.
My mom tells this story about when I was a little kid. She was, drinking tab and like laying on a lounge chair at our pool, our pool club, and talking with her friends. And she looked up and was like, man, that kid on the diving board is really little. And then she was like, oh shit, that's my kid. And I mean, ever since I've been that size, I'm going for it hard. And to the point where I did get reckless. I put myself into early labor when I had my first child. I have done things that have harmed my body. I've done things that have harmed the people that I care about in this pursuit of like winning and thinking that was what courage was. And that, while stamina is my superpower, patience is my kryptonite. I still need to be more courageous about calming the fuck down and just knowing that, yeah, I can do it, but should I? And if I do it, am I really making the best decisions in that mindset and in that time? Because I'm learning more and more that if you move with strategy instead of pure instinct, you get a lot farther, and you do bring people along with you. You get to the same place, but it's a lot easier getting there.
Great feedback. Also, interesting that you went to the high dive, because very much an individual activity. And I think I remember you're a soccer player. So let's give yourself a little credit. You're a team player. You're not playing a 1-on-11 and you've got 90 plus minutes to do the job. And what a surprise, you're running a team here. I am curious what is your metaphorical position now on the field? Are you a holding mid? Are you a striker? Are you a goalie? Can't say coach. You're on the field.
No, I mean, I use soccer metaphors all the time with the team. And there's moments on a team where you are building around the players, and you'll see, watch any, Euro League, and it's like, Lionel Messi's on the field. You're building a team around a player or several, if as it were, depending on what team we're talking about. And then there's moments where you have to sort of abandon the talent forward approach and think about what's the formation. Are we playing a 4-4-2? Are we playing a 4-3-3? Like, are we going to go to one defender so that we're packing the middle? Like, there's moments in my career where I've had to pick one or the other. I've never really thought about my position on that field, but I love that notion. And I would say that the reckless part of me is still that midfielder. Yeah, I'm gonna do the 80-yard recovery run because like I just missed that cross, and now my team is suffering. So I'm going to bust my ass back there to make sure that if we go down, at least I'm there to go down with them. And that's the reckless side. I think I've definitely instilled in the team that if you can't rescue the work in a night, then you really can't be the leader. You have to bring the team along. You have to inspire the team. You have to get the team to come up with great ideas. But if they don't, because these are not widgets, what do you do? And if you don't have that courage inside you or that knowledge that you can do that, it makes the job, talk about being led by fear. So there's moments where I've had to be the striker, like, all right, I'm going to score the goals. Absolutely going to score the goals. I think right now I would say that I'm back in the coach's seat. Like I said, patience is not my strong suit. And I've always been very direct, and I've always been very honest, and I'm a woman. So that gets a lot of opinions, harsh, you're called aggressive, you're called all the kinds of things that men don't often hear. And I appreciate that that's just the environment, but there are realities to things. And I have learned again that sugarcoating those realities or being too much of a shit umbrella actually doesn't serve anybody.
So again, I love that I remembered that you were a soccer player. I didn't have that as a note. I'm like, wait a minute. And then I'll let you on the out on that. You're playing the coach's card. But look, I'm a holding center mid. I'm at peace with that. I'm also older center mid, but I'm still playing. There's joy there. I'm going to keep, my goal is just to get to 50 playing. I got one more year for me, and then no ACL tears. Here we go.
Yeah,
all right.
I play tennis now. I don't play soccer anymore.
Well, it sounds like pickleball. Pickleball or tennis is a whole nother conversation, which usually tennis people don't love pickleball people. That's right. Another show. That's another different show. All right. So next week's Courage Week. It's just something that we do where we're dripping out content all week long. We're dripping out stories. It's just our way of like little nudges. You might actually get something in the mail from us, just to be on the lookout for like stickers, give them to friends, whatever one lands with you, put on your water bottle, take us home here. So I think the reason we like Courage Week is because we just wanted a trigger on the calendar that sort of forced us to go, all right, where did I get caught up in the monotony, or where am I not going for it? And it didn't feel like just another New Year's resolution thing, but I do like that it's right after summer because routine is back. So, again, from a Courage Week perspective, what's your inspiration? What do you want to leave us all with?
The courage for me has always been telling the truth. I think it's where the best ideas come from. When it goes back to the bold and in the bold, direct with heart, but uncovering the sort of belly of the beast of like the thing that's under the surface, the truth that nobody is brave enough to say it's the good stuff. So, I don't think that I think people get scared of thinking about being courageous. They don't get scared when they hear things like uncover the truth. It's the difference between, seeing a beautiful cake and then getting the recipe. It's like, all right, well, okay, I got the recipe now, I can do it. I think searching for the truth is the recipe for being courageous. So I don't want anybody to ever shy away from being courageous, because just break it down into what's actually the process and the recipe to get there.
Great way to end the show. And keep telling the truth. Good luck on your journey. I'm so glad we could reconnect. It's very cool to see you also stretch yourself into new roles. Stay patient over there and stay courageous. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it's a daily practice. Thank you so much. I always appreciate these conversations. Good luck with Courage Week.
Here we go. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.